a movie that is it's different for each. You know, our family having to deal with autism brings back a lot of memories for me. But their child has slight autism. He's not like full autistic. He could do things like dress himself, get his clothes ready, but he makes certain decisions where they don't think he should go to public school. His parents are divorcing and they're in the process of doing that. And the father kind of hasn't moved on, where he's still in love with his wife. And she's moved on. She has a whole nother guy. She just wasn't in love anymore. And she has the child. Robert De Niro and Caravan, Carnival, rather, playing this epic role. And this has been an incredible thing to watch, this film. You cannot go wrong with Ezra. See, Ezra, in a situation with it, is that he does something at the school that alarms them. So they want to put him in a special school. And they want him to see the shrink and the mom. And the father's a stand up comedian. All right. So Robert De Niro plays the grandfather, to Ezra. And his son is Bobby Cannavale. And he's a stand up comedian. And so he's performing at night. So every night he's doing his show. And he normally has his son there as his mojo. He tells his jokes and everything else and lands them. And it gets very interesting because here it is. He's hanging out with his kid, and his kid hears something, and he misunderstands what it means. And he runs trying to avoid a dog, almost get hit by a car and by a cab and everything else, running in the street. Because, he didn't want to, there was a dog outside. He didn't want to get bit by a dog. So they think he did it on his own, or he can't control himself. He needs to be supervised. And they wanted him shipped to a school, and he's going to be a ward of the state. And you start seeing how they try to take control and try to get him put on some type of medication that's similar to like Ritalin. But obviously, the people that make the medication is pushing the doctors to try to push this on the kid. The father sees it right away, and he can't control his temper, so he ends up in jail. Then he comes up with an idea because the new boyfriend don't want him around, and he's like a lawyer. So he figured out a way, like, look, he got to go along with the plan now. Like, we got him out of the way. We can get rid of the jail time if he agrees to give up custody and can't see his son. For 3 months, he can't see his son. So the guy decides, F it, I'm finna just take my son and we're just gonna go. So he just takes his son, puts his son in the car, late at night, kidnaps him, takes him out of his room, take him down to fire escape, and they get in the car and they just drive. Unbelievable. They just take off and they go on like this road trip. And the mom, she's like debating, should she call him? So she waited like 4 days because she really knows that the husband loves his son. Her ex-husband, he loves his son. So he wouldn't hurt him ever. But she's like, look, you can't just kidnap him And he was like, I'm sorry. I saw him at that new school. He's not happy at all. He's miserable. And I should have went to bat for him. And now he's like, I'm standing up for him now. So it becomes a very interesting tale of two sides who have two different agreements on how things should be dealt with and how what's good for the child. And when you have somebody who's listening to doctors and the systems and the medicine, and somebody else who has this belief that that's not what he needs to be around people and family, and we can do this, we can get him these things to go away, some of these things that would go away in time. He might not be where we are, but we got him. Tony Goldwyn uh, was U.S. Attorney Gordon Gray Oppenheimer. Oh, okay. That's a fun fact. Yeah, it's a really good movie. So definitely check it out. Well, you start to see things about people having family bonding and the strength and the empowerment of family. Yeah, very powerful movie. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 4. Yes, I seen the movie actually last week. We have actually almost 2 weeks ago. Mystery Movie Monday. We normally get advanced screenings and things like that. So Ezra was one of the advanced screenings. I just never gotten around to doing the review until it gets time to the movie to come out. So I said, well, let me wait till the movie comes out. Plus, it's always fresh on my mind when you definitely see this. It's so much going on in the first 5 minutes of Ezra. So much context that you're filled in like the first 5 minutes as to what's going on in the movie. Way better than Babes. Skip Babes altogether. Now, I think a little differently than others, if you probably could tell. My views are not swayed by public demand and the people that's there watching film. Yep, there's no babes in babes. So that was my score to film. 3.5 stars out of 4. I don't know if that was a late text that came through. Whoopi didn't have a big role. She's his manager. She had a few bit parts in there where she's just sitting in a chair the whole time. But she's his manager. And she's giving him on Jimmy Kimmel. So he made Jimmy Kimmel show, and he's supposed to go out and do the Kimmel thing, and that's what the road trip eventually turns into, him driving to Jimmy Kimmel. He's gonna end up driving from there, trying to get from there to the Jimmy Kimmel show. And next thing you know, he has an Amber Alert put on his head, and because he never returned the kids, so now everybody in the state is trying to find his dad and his son. Yeah. Well, it touches home. We have I have two cousins that have autism, and my first cousin that has autism got it in. I mean, he was born in like '82, so he cannot communicate like everybody else, but he can dress himself now. But the thing is this: when he was diagnosed in the '80s, there wasn't a lot of treatment for this. Okay, we were kids, so we weren't aware of such things. And plus, my uncle wasn't too accepting of the diagnosis of the doctors to much later. Um, because when he first was like in his younger age, when he was like 1 or 2, they thought he was deaf. So my grandfather even told him, said, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I think he's deaf. I think you should take him in, and get him tested." Oh, he's fine. Ain't nothing wrong with him. So he was in total denial as to what was going on. We were kids, so we didn't know how to react. We just didn't know he would, be accepted to us and play with us. And we didn't know how to play games with him and stuff like that because we're kids and he just couldn't function with the rest of us. And he just was in his own world. So it was difficult. And they didn't really test like they like today. Plenty of tests. Now the thing is, when that happened, over time they started to get him help, and immediately, him going to school and classes, he was able to talk, he was able to communicate, and he understands you when you talk. It's just that sometimes he can't comprehend in sentences, and he likes to sit in his own world. And he's in his 40s now and still experiencing all of this. But he's the nicest human being in the world. Strong, but it basically puts stress on a relationship of a marriage of two people who are married. They split up, and she went on to date another guy and remarry, and she turned him over to the state. And then my uncle had to find him 4 years later, and it's crazy how much stress could go in a relationship. And then my other cousin has ADHD, been classified as that. I don't believe in it, but um, and another one is autistic. So it's a big process that others have to take in considerations. Oh, my sinuses are killing me today. Trying to think how I'm gonna get through the day. Mm-hmm. So that's the way that played out. Definitely not a good thing. So on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. Love, peace, and hair grease.